From the Oakland Hills to Jack London Square, from the port to the Coliseum, this is Talk of the Town, an in-depth conversation about the people and issues important to Oakland.
Hello, I'm Dave Clark. Welcome to Talk of the Town. I am really pleased that you're with us for this conversation, and I have a really good conversation today with a wonderful lady who not only lives here in Oakland, but I call her the queen of advertising. My guest today is Carol Williams, and she is the queen of advertising in so many different ways, and you'll learn more about Carol and the reason why I say it. And you're also a Hall of Famer. Let me just start there, bragging about the fact you're in the Hall of Fame of advertising, and that just happened not too long ago.
It happened a few years ago. Yeah.
How did that feel?
Well, it was incredible because, you know, when you start in this business, there's nothing in the Hall of Fame initially.
Yeah.
But Caucasian males.
Yeah.
And then maybe a couple of females showed up. So to be elected to the American Association Federation Advertising into the Hall of Fame as a black creative was immense. It was huge. It was shocking. And voted in by the entire who's who in the advertising community. But I have to say that it means nothing if that door closes behind me.
Yeah. I want to learn everything there is to know about you. And like I said, this is a bragging session.
Okay.
A Carol Williams bragging session. I want to know how you got started and everything. We were talking before we went on the air about one of your most famous advertising slogans. And as soon as you hear it, you'll say, oh, she created that? That campaign for Secret deodorant.
Secret antiperspirant, yes.
Strong enough for a man, but made for a woman. It came from her. Tell me about that campaign.
Actually, it was a funny story, if I could begin.
Yeah.
You know, when you work in an advertising agency, like I was hired at Leo Burnett. Leo Burnett was like the god.
Who?
The god
Yeah.
of the advertising world. And advertising really in many ways had not penetrated our world.
Yeah.
Most people hadn't even thought about or knew where advertising came from. You know, I guess they thought God himself just put those billboards and TV commercials up and what have you.
Yeah.
But they had not thought about it. And I got hired at Burnett. It was interesting. Burnett was doing huge campaigns.
Yeah.
All the big ones that you would see on television, what have you. I was working on Pillsbury.
Yeah.
So most of the stuff, my brother told me one story about he got famous at the school he went to. He went to Tennessee State.
Yeah.
Because he would come to my place and I would tell him about a commercial I was working on. And he would go tell the girls,
and
my
said,
sister.
Your sister did that?
And they would say, oh, you did. And then the commercial would come on months later, right? And they would go, oh, and he said every time he turned around, he had a date. And I said, you mean I'm filling up your date card?
Yeah, right.
I'm going to stop telling you about what goes on. But anyway, I was working at Burnett, and my boss, Charlie Blakemore, walked me up in the hall one day and said, listen, I want you to work on a specific product, but I want you to promise me you won't quit when I tell you what product it was.
Interesting.
And I said, well, at Burnett, you know, the hot things were working on United Airlines, because Burnett created Fly the Friendly Skies of United.
Fly the Friendly Skies of United.
You know, guys were traveling to Hawaii and all those different places. and shooting those commercials.
Yeah.
So, and I said, Charlie, I promise you I won't quit. First of all, I won't quit because I never made this much money before. And I'm having a good time.
Yeah.
So what is it that you want me to do? And he said, I want you to work on secret antiperspirant. And I was like, oh, you guys get to go to Hawaii and get to go all over the world shooting commercials for everybody, you know, that
and
glamour
you get to
product.
focus on
and I
underarms.
got to work on secret antiperspirant.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But you know how God works.
Yeah.
Sometimes the least thing you think about becomes a huge thing and a door opener. And so I agreed to work on secret antiperspirant. And at that time, Secret was number 9 or 10. They were really about to take, Procter & Gamble was about to take it off the shelf.
Really?
Yeah. And they had replaced it with Sure,
Yeah.
which had been given to another agency. And during that time, I had looked at one of the things you have to do is go through the historical aspects of the product and look at all the data and that kind of stuff. And I did. And they had all these little women running around in these cute little dresses, floating with the butterflies and, you know, running through the parks.
Yeah.
And I would sit there and stare at this stuff and say, who are these women? I've never seen, you know, the women I knew worked hard and they sweat. And they're picking up babies, they're carrying groceries, they're looking out for their men. I couldn't relate to the visuals that they had on the air. So we created this campaign for secret antiperspirant that was actually committed to the position that it was actually made for a woman, but it was an efficacious product. It was as efficacious as the #1 product in the marketplace. And it was.
Yeah.
And it would keep you dry. And most of the men, when they saw the campaign, they were like,
Really?
yeah, that campaign is not going to fly. I mean, that's not how women see themselves.
Yeah.
And that's not who women are. I'm a woman. How you going to tell me how we feel?
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous. But, you know, the same thing still goes on today.
Yeah.
In that business. Anyway, with the support of my mentor, Charlie Blakemore, and others, Procter & Gamble bought that campaign and put it on the air. And it was the first campaign, national campaign, that highlighted a black woman in a leading role. So we pulled out 3 of them, and one of the television commercials was a black female. And no black female had ever been in a #1 role on. So the phenomena was, Secret became the #1 antiperspirant among not only white women, but black women. And they shot that product right to #1, where it still lives today.
And that year was 19...
That was 1990. I don't want to tell what year that was. That was 1995, I think, when it was introduced.
Wow. And I still, to this day, can easily think of Secret. Strong enough for a man, it's made for a woman.
That's right.
Wow.
It lives in the hearts and mind of American consumers. Drove our product to #1. That's it.
See, you didn't know you had a star living among you here in Carol Williams. But I am so happy to be sitting here with you, talking with you for a couple of minutes. And I want to know, I know you were born and raised
In
Chicago.
Yes.
That was home.
Southside of Chicago.
You still feel Southside of Chicago?
Oh, yeah, you don't ever lose Southside of Chicago. Ask Obama.
You're right.
You never lose it.
So tell me about growing up there.
Chicago is an incredible place. To me, the brilliance, the boldness, the struggle, it's all there. And so you really struggle to find out who you are,
Yeah.
especially if you come from certain environments. And I did.
Okay.
So my father was Mississippi born, and my mother was Tennessee. And we grew up in a, though I say I'm from Chicago, I grew up in a Southern household.
Okay.
And those values in that household was extremely Southern. It was strictly family. Family was first. The love of it,
Yeah.
the care, the growing, the education of your children. And it became an everyday thing of the sacrifice you had to make to achieve those goals.
Yeah. And being black.
And being black. And so, and walking those, how you manage that landscape of a white world being black. And you had to learn that and really understand it and understand what you were dealing with and who you were looking at. Because when you have different culture clash,
Yeah.
that creates a real problem for you.
What did your mother and father tell you about that? Or what did they present in front of you so you can learn from what you saw?
I think one of the key things that my mother and my father was keen on quoting the Bible. And initially, I think that all I thought was, the Bible is the Bible. It's over here. But what my father taught me was, no, the Bible is everyday life.
Yeah.
Not that you're going to live it biblically in that sense, but that the lessons in that are applicable in your everyday life, no matter what year you're living in. Any problem that you're having is disguised some kind of way in the Bible. You have to learn to translate it and apply it to your day-to-day life.
Wow. And you still do that?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
If you're just tuning in, I'm talking to I just call her the great Carol Williams of the Carol Williams Advertising Agency. Talk about when you created the company. And how many years has it been?
Well, I was in Burnett and then Foot Cone and Belding for a number of years. Very successful.
Two major
ad
agencies.
Two top ad agencies in the world.
Yeah.
And I had a ball. I did. Now, don't misunderstand me. It was a struggle. But when you love what you're doing and recognize that that's what life is,
Yeah.
then you solve the problem and you move on.
Okay.
And you learn, among you is always a demonic mind, or many of them.
Yeah.
But you learn to identify and say, okay, here comes the demon. I'm going that way.
Yeah. I see you.
I see you.
I see you.
I don't have to tell the demon I see it. But to engage, defend, or play that game is a losing game.
So tell me about starting this firm and the idea of being multicultural as well.
I don't know whether there's any such thing as multicultural.
Okay. Yeah.
We're all multicultural in that sense, because if you look at our genealogy as African Americans really is about, 500 years old.
Yeah.
We all carry the commonality of Africanness with us, but when you look at the genealogy in itself and what we've learned, the European influence and other things, it creates a whole nother different kind of perspective or lens which you look through. and the way you understand and do what you do in this country on a day-to-day basis, and it's absolutely necessary. I had a ball at Foot Cone and Belding and at Leo Burnett. Did a lot of things that I right and did a lot of things that were wrong.
Yeah.
But in doing things that you're wrong, if you analyze it properly, time only helps you understand those things, adjust, and move on.
Yeah.
And you get much more brilliant as you move through once you understand, what those things are. Those ills are about learning, and if you do, they become stepping stones to the next level, which is really, really important. I spent many, many years and got promoted right up the ladder at Burnett and Foot Cone. I achieved very high levels that no black had ever achieved. I made a vice president and senior vice president in 7 years, and nobody had done that, white, black, or otherwise.
Yeah.
But that's because I kept my focus where it was important, which is on what I was trying to achieve.
Always like a laser.
It's always focused like a laser. If you let anything or anybody deter you and look at something else that is not part of your growth and your path, that's when you get hurt, and that's when you feel pain. Start feeling pain and hurt, you better know I'm not on the right path. I got to take a new look at this and move forward. So, but what happened was I came to a point where I started wondering where Carol H. Williams really began and where Leo Burnett and Foot Cone and Belding ended.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is they have brilliant architectures and structures and whatever that you have to learn to focus within. And sometimes, the influence of those architecture and focus, you can lose focus on who you are. Yeah. And so, biblically, the Exodus hit me. And when the Exodus start calling at you and you feel you can hear it, then it's time to go.
It's time to go.
It's time to go.
So when you opened the door, the physical doors of Carol H. Williams Agency, how did that feel?
It was scary. It was difficult because you're looking in a very dark place. You don't know what tomorrow will bring.
Yeah.
You do not know that you've created this entity, but you find that entity change every day, and it suddenly will develop its own life. It's almost like having a baby.
Yeah.
It has, yes, that's your brain that's brought it to life, but others influence it.
Yeah.
And and I'm talking in a very creative language.
Yeah,
now.
I'm following you.
It suddenly becomes, it's sitting here, and you're sitting here, and you're trying to manage it and grow it into a healthy, productive piece of beauty, work. So recognizing that, once I opened up Carol H. Williams Advertising, I was open to or expected everything, but I didn't know what everything was or is.
Ooh.
And that's a huge concept.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times our egos will put us out there and we think we know it. We know nothing.
Interesting.
That's just the beginning of the journey.
And who do you talk to? And who do you confide in an industry where not everyone, one, has reached your levels in the advertising world, and very few people look like you?
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
There are mentors and consultants and advisors and advocates that as you go along this path and journey, they look like many different things to you. They're all different, but you have to discern which ones are working or will give you the best of them and your best interests, and which ones they smile at you, but they really don't like you very much.
There's a famous quote from a Russian leader who talked about the late Gorbachev. He said, he smiles, but he has iron teeth.
Ew.
You just made me think of that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you look at them and you can see for a second who they are, but then you doubt yourself, so you stop believing that you saw it.
Yeah.
But you usually see it.
You saw it.
You saw it.
Yeah.
And that confidence in yourself, that's the key thing. And confidence in yourself doesn't mean that everything you do or whatever is the right thing.
Yeah.
It means that you have the ability to make a decision, and if you find that it's the wrong decision, you have the ability to correct it.
You know you.
You know you.
You know you.
I'll make a wrong decision in a minute. But I know now it doesn't make any difference because I can correct it.
I'm going to backtrack real quick. We talked about the secret antiperspirant campaign. What other prominent campaigns that you've worked on or created products that became a part of our everyday life that you're proud of?
I'm proud of just about every campaign that I've ever done, Dave. And I started my career working on Pillsbury. I used to produce nine commercials a year for Pillsbury. And everything from say hello to popping fresh dough to biscuits in the morning.
That was her.
And that was me.
Popping fresh.
And it was great. So, you know, when the little belly poke come in and and all America was smiling at that, they were smiling at me.
So the Pillsbury Doughboy and
the belly poke. So all those years, Rudy Purse created the Doughboy, but I created a campaign that was called Say Hello to Poppin' Fresh Dough, in which you had, you know, we did the little giggles, Doughboy. It was wonderful. And then probably America doesn't even remember, it was a campaign I did called Funny for Funny Face. Funny Face was a soft drink. Yeah. That was competitive with Kool-Aid. Yeah. And it had Goofy Grape, and we had a ball with that one. It was so stupid. It was a crazy campaign. But it was, and so how did it go? It was when you're hot, and you need a lot, drink Funny Face. That was me. And then one of my favorite stories is that I was on Kleenex, a women's feminine product, napkin, and they put me on that product, and I walked in the room, and there were like 7 white males in the room, and me.
And you.
And me. And they're sitting up there with, you know, these sanitary pads, like a mustache.
Really?
They had them sitting on their head like they were bows on their head and everything. And I had to deal with these guys with that product. But that campaign that introduced that product, New Freedom Lady, I wrote that campaign. Okay. And then I went on that one with Disney where the little kid has all the signs and animation where animation where everything came in his room, and it was the scholarship and the brilliance that he brought back home from Disney. I did that campaign.
Bravo.
And Coors with the, we kept telling the Coors people, now you can't stay in the Golden, Colorado in the mountains with Coors. You got to bring it to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So we brought Coors to the neighborhood, and I can go on forever. You guys have seen probably tons of my work. You just don't know it's my work.
That's, I say bravo. I say bravo.
Thank
Did you know I've always when waiting to meet you, did you know as a child what you wanted to do? Like me, I knew in elementary school I wanted to get into broadcasting. Did you know as a kid in Chicago that you wanted to be creative, and get into advertising, or did that come much later?
It came much later.
Yeah.
I just knew, it was really different. I really love people,
Yeah.
no matter who they are and where they are.
Mm-hmm.
I love talking to them. It was, I'd go over and have a conversation with the drunk on the street. My mother, why are you talking to that man?
Yeah.
And I love people, and I love engaging with people. So I thought that I wanted to go into medicine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So when I went to school, like in Northwestern, I took, I went towards pre-med and that kind of stuff. But I had to study all the time. I didn't like that.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's a part of it, yeah.
Wait a minute, I don't have any kind of life. People don't realize how hard you studying all the time when you talk about becoming a doctor. So, but I was always a little bit off center, I guess. That's what my mother would say.
Okay.
And I didn't exactly know, and my cousins would love to call me crazy. I didn't know all
I didn't hear that. Yeah.
I didn't know what all that meant, other than what they were seeing was the creativity.
Right.
But I didn't know what it was, and my mother didn't know what it was. And so, as a result, I went towards disciplines that were really left brain, that was very strict.
Yeah.
And then I wrote just for a fundraiser a play.
Oh.
And the gentleman who was from J. Walter Thompson, another ad agency,
Big
saw
one.
it. A big ad agent. He saw it. He came to the university and he saw the play. And he came over to meet me. And he started actually telling me there are no blacks in advertising. We need more people like you that really have a better handle on dialogue and stuff. Why don't you do an internship? And I just thought he was,
talking.
but I decided to try that because I'm from the Southside of Chicago. I'm broke, right? I'm trying to go to school.
Yeah.
He's the one that educated me that actually the internship could be a paid internship and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I interviewed at 3 ad agencies after coming out of what was called the American Association of Ad Agencies basic ad class, which I had audited.
Yeah.
And I actually hadn't been in it. I just audited
Yeah.
it. They allowed me to do that. And so I interviewed at Burnett and J. Walter Thompson, and it was at that time it was an agency called Post Keys and Gardner, and I got offered a job from all 3 internship.
Oh.
And I took the one at Burnett because the one at Burnett paid the most money. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, right.
So I took that job, and in that job, my boss or supervisor at that point was a man named Jim Gilmore, and he gave me the assignment about biscuits in the morning. And I go in this meeting, they're having this big meeting about trying to move biscuits so people would eat biscuits at breakfast. And I just thought that was the craziest thing I had ever heard in my life, since we ate
Biscuits all
the time.
Yeah, right.
And I was like, who doesn't eat biscuits in the morning? And they all looked at me like, where did you come from?
Yeah, right.
Right. So I wrote this campaign, nothing's quite as good as biscuits in the morning. It's Pillsbury's best time of day. And the name of the biscuit product was Pillsbury's Best.
Pillsbury's Best.
Yes. That thing went on the air. They offered me a job, and we never looked back.
Nothing says something like something from the oven, and Pillsbury says it's best. You should have hired me to be your announcer. Wow.
That concept was written, that concept that you just articulated was actually written by a man, as I can remember, named Bob Tennant. It had gone on the air. It was on the air when I did Biscuits in the Morning.
Biscuits in the Morning.
That Biscuits in the Morning replaced that. And that's what was so incredible about that time. They were writing these concepts that would last 3 lifetimes.
Yeah,
you know, how can you still remember nothing says loving like something for the other?
I still remember.
That thing went on the air, had to go on the air in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. We have to wind down. Mm-hmm. But I want to find out, when you talk to younger people, the people who want to be the next Carol Williams, what do you say to them?
It's very hard, because each of us, as we go through our life, we have expectations.
Yeah.
And the way in which a lot of us teach our children is quite different than the way we were taught.
Quite true.
And so I really spend good time with my daughter and other people about their spirituality, their knowledge. What do you see when you look at other people? Love, your engagement with them. The least of them are worthy. And the importance of a smile. That if you can touch somebody and make them smile, even for an hour or two, you do not know how much juice you give their brain, how much you give them. So giving is very important in knowledge. I spent a lot of time talking about the spirituality, and then a lot of time talking about how you negotiate this landscape in order to achieve your goals, and being focused on your goals and knowing what they are. And then knowing that in the scheme of things, that a lot of things you are concerned about really is irrelevant.
It really isn't. There are other things more important.
It is more important. So that young lady you over there fighting with, come on.
Yeah, I hear you. Oh, by the way, your daughter is a very good writer. She's a very good writer. I enjoy her writings and the things that she does. And I enjoy the fact that you still live in Oakland. And I'm glad that you're here and that I can touch Carol H. Williams. And I'm glad
Thank you so much. I love Oakland. My daughter is absolutely brilliant.
She is.
Her struggle is, a lot of people think she's who she is because she's my daughter. She's a better creative than I ever hoped to be.
That says a lot, Carol.
And she's brilliant.
Well, she comes from good stock, okay? My guest has been the incomparable Carol H. Williams, head of the Carol H. Williams ad agency. She is a Hall of Famer in the world of advertising and otherwise. I thank you for making time to be here, Carol. That means a lot to me.
Always.
And I look forward to seeing more of you. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you so much.
And I thank you for joining us. I'll see you next time here on Talk of the Town.